Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
Hey, George, can you do me a favor?
Sure.
I've got a
Shoot.
truckload of pork, and I need it moved from New Jersey to Perth, Australia, and I need it in a hurry. Can you get that done for
No,
me?
I can't do it. Can't do it. I haven't slept since
Can you use
Wednesday.
the
What if I
Panama
pay
Canal?
you double and show you the funnest Australian movie I've ever seen?
I suppose I could do it.
Okay,
For
good.
double.
We
Yeah.
watched Road Games from 1981. George, I assume you have not seen this movie before.
Oh no, I've seen this a bunch of times.
Oh, crap.
It's like one of my favorite movies.
How about you, Travis? Was this your first time?
Yes.
Excellent.
That was a joke. I definitely never
George has
have
never
ever
seen
seen that. Okay, yeah, okay.
Hey, what'd you think, George? You got yourself into Australia for the first time on the show.
There were some good things, and there were some dated things. All in all, it was okay. It was like I'm like 50-50 on it.
Hey, I'll take it. We'll have you up to about 89 by the end of the episode.
All right.
Now, Travis,
Sounds
this
good.
is your first trip to Australia in a while, probably. How's the weather down there?
Okay.
Was the dubbing up to snuff?
Dubbing didn't bother me. No.
Well, there wasn't any post dubbing, so I would imagine
No.
if the
No,
accents of certain people didn't bother you, this would probably be a pretty straightforward affair.
No, there were plenty of other things that bothered me. Wasn't really the acting in this one.
Well, we know Travis likes to hate every movie he watches, so
I don't like to hate every movie I watch.
every movie he watches for the first time.
Every movie.
Any movie that doesn't have nostalgia for him.
No, any movie that is obscure and 7 people have seen it, and then it's being like put up here as if it's something that you need to see to move on through life, and it's not good. Yeah, that bothers me.
Mm.
But when it's a movie that was done way better by like 3 other people, I'm not really sure why we're not watching the more mainstream versions of this movie.
Well, it's
Other than
Jamie
that,
Lee
it falls into Jamie Lee Curtis, but
Christmas.
she's only in it for like 3 minutes. So
Yeah, that's one of the things I didn't like about it.
I thought it was a Jamie Lee Curtis movie, and it
Yeah.
apparently is not.
No,
It's a
if
Stacy
you're
Keach
coming
movie.
to this movie to see Jamie Lee Curtis,
Yeah, you're not going to see her much.
you will for about
20 minutes.
maybe tops.
Yeah.
Well, the movie Travis wanted to watch is not available in America, so we
This
audibled
is true.
to Road Games. Thank you, James Cameron, for putting us into Australia
see-
a week earlier than planned.
But that has nothing to do with it. Like I watched it with I was excited to watch it because I saw the trailer when Dan mentioned that this movie existed. I watched the trailer and I was like, "Oh, this looks interesting." And then I saw on YouTube there was like a Quentin Tarantino and Jamie Lee Curtis talked about this movie like more recently and what it means. So I was like, "Oh yeah," and all the montages and everything really made me want to watch this movie. Then I watched it. And
Didn't do it for you?
I would rather watch the trailers.
Travis,
All right, so-
noted film expert, smarter than Quentin Tarantino, doesn't like this movie. That's okay.
No.
I'm on Team Q with this one, although I wasn't aware that he was a fan. It doesn't surprise me.
Not really
a bit,
sure
though.
if he was a fan, but I think but he's a film nerd. Like this kind of movie is a film. Like there's like 7 guys that went to film school, and they're like, "Oh, it's Rear Window on the road. It's so special." And it's like, well, why don't you just watch Rear Window? Like it's just Rear Window is Hitchcock. Rear Window is amazing. This is a fan of Hitchcock making a Rear Window on the road badly.
But
like
with
it's not.
but with Jamie
But
Lee
with
Curtis.
yeah, like I get the guy is a huge fan of Hitchcock, and he wanted to pay homage, and he did a relatively okay job for a 70s movie. But this movie is so like 70s, even though it's 81, I think.
Yeah.
It's so 70s.
It is dated, man.
It's very 70s.
I thought it when I was watching it. There's some
and I like
datedness
Stacy
to it.
Keach, and I there was just I could give you all my problems with it.
Yeah, I was thinking, Dan, should we go through all of Travis's problems first, or
No, I want to hear all the stuff that I missed.
or should you try to fix them first?
Well, Travis came tonight and chose violence, as we can see. Let's just talk about the movie a little bit, because I'm sure there are people out there who have not seen it. We won't get too spoilery up front, because this is going to fall on the more obscure spectrum, but it's available to stream everywhere, unlike the movie we'd originally scheduled, which is not available to stream anywhere in this country because I assume just because James Cameron is too busy making Avatar movies to do a new master for True Lies, which is really weird.
Which brings up something that I always say to everybody that makes fun of me for owning DVDs.
Oh, no.
No, not you guys, but I mean, like, when we did RoboCop, I went to Best Buy and I said, what happened to all your DVDs? Because you used to have a shit ton, and now you have like one row and they're all 4K, and none of them were RoboCop. And he laughed at me and he's like, oh, everybody streams now, everybody downloads it. I'm like, everything's digital. I said, but what if they don't have it? Like, I can walk into my room and grab Halloween off the rack if I want to watch Halloween TV version, if I want to watch Halloween theatrical, if I want to watch the new Sandman collaboration. I have it. I don't have to find it. The fact that we went to go find this movie that pretty much everybody loves.
It's a mainstream movie, right?
Classic Cameron movie.
Why can't we get it? What's the real reason we can't get it? Do we know?
I can speculate, but it could be that he's just pulling a Disney and like hoarding his stuff to make it perfect before he puts it back out there. I don't know. Like, you know how Disney, once they own Star Wars, anywhere you go to stream Star Wars or download it was like $80 and you had to get the whole trilogy.
No, I don't know that, but I believe it,
When you used to be able to get it for whatever.
Right.
So they're starting to corner. I don't know what Cameron's doing, but it's the kind of movie that should be something I could go on HBO Max and watch.
But it isn't the only James Cameron movie that's missing from the mainstream streaming crowd and doesn't have a Blu-ray release. So it's like, it's super tricky to track down. It would be easy if we still had Blockbusters to just pop down to your Blockbuster.
Well, I stopped at 2 thrift stores.
Netflix Discs probably has the DVD if we had discs from Netflix.
Right.
But
yeah, back in the day when you had to.
Well, they still do that. I mean, we could have signed up a week ago knowing that this was not on streaming, but we all assumed that we could True Lies it, and we couldn't.
But see, it's not available on Netflix, and it's not available on any.
Well,
even
on the
like
disc version,
on demand.
you could find the DVD. That's what I'm saying.
But I stopped at a few thrift stores. I'm going to stop at a few more. We're going to watch this movie.
Well, and that's the funny thing with your story is it's like, yeah, you could totally grab it if you owned it, but then you didn't own it, and it's like, well, shoot, now we can't watch True Lies.
Right. I do own it. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least in streaming, you know where to look. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all good. I understand the appeal of streaming. I, too, am a physical media collector. Because, you know, I want to watch Stark Raving Dad every now and then for that nostalgic kick. But we digress.
See.
Travis, now having exorcised the demons that were implanted into him by James Cameron in True Lies, we can now move on to Road Games, which is not True Lies by any stretch of the imagination.
Nor did I think it was.
So, George, right up front, movie starts with one of the most stylish kills in a movie that I can think of.
Yeah.
And the film centers around a murder, as most Hitchcockian thrillers do. But the cinematography of that scene,
amazing.
You got to admit, that kill is awesome.
That whole scene is awesome. I wish the whole movie was like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't sustain that for that long. That would have been a boring movie. It'd been one note. You know what it would have been? It would have been Jamie Lee Curtis making out with every guy she meets. One note. Need a little more.
No. I mean, cinematography-wise, and that just the colors, the shapes, the silhouettes, the tension, like she's tuning that guitar.
And he's coming behind her with
it's just like a Dark Knight.
With a guitar string.
With a guitar string. Like that.
Love it.
That scene made me go, okay, I know why I'm watching this because it's clearly an Australian giallo.
Yeah.
He's got the gloves. They're doing the whole killer POV. Like, they're doing everything that we've learned.
Yep.
And I was like, okay. And then that was the only time in the movie that all the attention was given to that kind of detail, to where I was just like, oh, wow. Like, it seemed like two different movies. So I understand they were trying to set a tone, but it's almost like every time you show the killer, maybe you should have had that kind of tone, but they didn't. It was just kind of, I don't know. It was Vacation without
Okay.
Clark Griswold.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for him to go, Russ.
Yeah. I loved the scene.
I wish the dog's name was Russ. That would have been.
That
would have
been great. Because the dog kind of resembled it.
A little bit.
Maybe a little bit. All right. No. Yeah. The scene was great. Like, you kind of. I mean, at least for me, I don't know if it's just like my TV or whatever, but I couldn't tell who was strumming the guitar or tuning the guitar. I wasn't sure if it was the dude or the chick, and
Right.
I was like, kind of like wondering, and like,
Well, they were showing enough,
eventually
body
you
shape that
saw
you could tell it
some
was a
body
woman,
shape,
yeah.
right? Eventually, and I think you saw only gloves in the bathroom,
Yes.
right? So you don't really know, but that kind of pointed me towards the guys in the bathroom and the girls
Right.
outside. But I didn't know. But then
But you're also
when he
thinking,
comes
is
out
this
of the
Jamie Lee
bath-
Curtis too? 'Cause they didn't show her
exactly
face.
right. And they got me there, and and after the scene was over, I thought to myself, they got me.
Right.
They got me just because you see. Actually, you don't even see JLC.
No,
You don't know
you
who
just
the
know she's in
hitchhiker
it.
was, right? But you assume it is. And I said, you found me assuming. You got me.
Mm-hmm.
You got me.
And if you're a Saturday Night Live fan, Casey Musgraves did a pretty good tribute to that scene just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't watch Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, me neither.
That's unintentional. She was just naked behind the guitar.
I
But
haven't watched it in
was she?
20 years.
but what's funny is I didn't even know that she was naked behind the guitar. I just kind of was fast forwarding because I don't listen to Casey Musgraves. But later the next day they were like, controversy, Casey Musgraves naked on SNL, and I'm like, I didn't even notice.
So was every member of the Red Hot Chili Peppers
Yeah.
in the 90s, so whatever.
On SNL, that would have been sweet.
Not on SNL.
Gym socks everywhere.
That I recall.
Now, George, have you ever seen
Yeah.
Stacy Keach, the main actor in this movie?
He looked familiar.
Did you ever watch the show Titus
No.
back in the late 90s, early Christopher Titus
Yeah.
had a sitcom where Stacy Keach was the dad. That's where I first met him. He was
Yeah.
the grumpy old, kind of the Red Foreman type character,
Okay.
only like way worse.
You know where I met him? I met him on I think it was it Up in Smoke? One of the Cheech and Chong movies where he was like a scientist growing the special pot, and he inhaled and he became an iguana. That's all I remember. Like all the pot that he kept blowing. Oh, the pot smoke would turn you into a lizard, and he turned into a lizard by smoking the pot. But that's how I knew him. And then I knew him from was it Hammer? What was the cop show that he was on?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was called Hammer, something like that. And that was on for a while too.
Well,
He's just been around forever.
this movie gives Stacy Keach an uninterrupted platform to just riff and act. And I thought for sure Travis would be like, man, look at Stacy Keach acting his butt off.
I think he.
No, I liked him.
You
in
do,
this.
right?
What?
You do think that.
I thought he was good. I don't think I had some issues with the dialogue when he was sitting. Like when you watch a movie like Castaway,
Yeah.
where Tom Hanks is playing off of a volleyball and he's basically the only actor. That's basically what this is when he's behind the wheel. He's playing off the dog, and he's not as. I don't think the character was written as well as the character in Castaway.
Hold on.
Okay.
You mean to tell me that a movie made 15 years before Castaway, which starred the best actor of a generation,
It wasn't
also
as good.
who directed Castaway?
I thought that was a Ron Howard movie.
So from the year 2000, so a full 20 years essentially later.
Okay.
Starring Tom Hanks, directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Zemeckis.
Okay.
Ah.
You're telling me that a movie directed by Robert Zemeckis, starring the best actor of a generation, is better than the movie made for like $15 in Australia?
I'm not comparing the two. I'm
You
just
just
saying
did.
you're bringing up acting, and I'm saying he wasn't given the dialogue that he probably could have put it to that level. I was trying to say that he was doing well with a bad script.
I
was not
wouldn't
a good
call it a
script.
bad script.
It was not a good script.
Would you like to see Stacy Keach play off of a volleyball?
Well, I saw him play off a dog.
Okay.
A dango.
So, I mean, I like him. The issue with the movie is kind of the characters that he interacts with throughout the movie. Like he was fine, and the acting was fine with him. but not many of the other people. And I had a big problem with the fact that he was going 1,600 miles across country, yet he kept running into the same 5 people. Yet sometimes they were passing him, and sometimes they were behind him, but then he saw him again up front, and the hitchhiker
That's the whole conceit, man.
on the side of the
That
road.
is an
but
intentional
then
conceit.
1,000 miles later, she's on the side of the road again. Like none of it. To take from Dan's last week, it didn't flow.
No, it sure didn't.
The timing was off. It didn't flow. Like to
you're
me,
right.
I was just like, wait, she's there, and it was almost like I was watching a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like she's
No,
there,
that's
and then
exactly,
she's there again.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt, but I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
Like the
Not at all.
the lady in the motorcycle, like all that.
Yeah,
it was
everything.
It was almost like I wanted him to wake up from this horrible dream and realize that none of that happened. That's where I was at.
I love it because I've never been a trucker, but the guy has been a trucker for so long. It's almost like, I mean, in this movie, these are all obviously the same people. They're the same cars. But I imagine when you're a trucker, you see the same car all the time. Obviously, it's a different person, but it's the same type of person or the same type of car.
Well, that would make sense if they were driving.
You have the motorcyclist, you have the people coming back from vacation, the guy towing the boat that doesn't know what he's doing. Like, all of these idiots on the road that the trucker sees every day. Only in this movie, they're all headed the same place, or they keep running into each other because there's one road, I guess. I don't know. Every time we ran into these people, I laughed because, like the just married couple, how they played into it. You only see them twice. Yeah, you only see the just married van twice, but it's funny how all these things, the guy with all the sports balls in his car with the alarm sticker, and then he shows up later with the alarm going off and he can't fix it. Like, all of those things, they kind of all played into the movie, and eventually I started trying to think of all of the different cars that he saw and how they would play into the plot, because I knew that they would, because this is a stage play. It's like a small world, kind of.
It's akin to being stuck on a ship, because it is such a narrow roadway with so few stops, and because it is supposed to juxtapose this giant isolating road in the middle of a barren desert and on a small continent, with the claustrophobia of being the same 5 cars together on this journey. It's the same thing you see when you drive cross country and you keep running into that car and you're like, God, I just passed them an hour ago, but we stopped for gas and now they've passed me again, so I got to pass them again. This stuff happens in real life, even on a crowded highway.
Yeah, I know. But he didn't really stop that much. But that wasn't explained.
Yeah.
This timeline
in your mind,
stops. Okay,
in your
gotcha.
mind, I'm making those assumptions, but the movie's not showing me that.
Yeah.
Fine. But what I'm saying is it's not. It's just like you said. It's bad. It's bad. I don't know if it's the editing or whatever.
I don't know. I don't think it's that. I think it's kind of like the way. You know how we were talking about in certain movies, there was 2 in particular, same director, Blues Brothers, American Werewolf. What's his name? Landis. Where the people get it on right away because it's a Landis timeline, right? And we don't really question it because it's Landis. He just made these people, fall in love real quick, or not even fall in love, but get with each other real quick, because it's just that just fit the timeline. It's kind of like that where I don't know. I saw all these cars and I'm like, how did that car get in front of him? How's the hitchhiker here now? I saw it and I was like, frig it.
Okay.
Just watch the movie.
So I'm playing the part of George 2 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So
in short, yes. Yeah.
The budget for Castaway in the year 2000, approximately 90.
Oh my God!
90
I'm not
million,
comparing the 2 movies, Dan. I don't care if it
$90
was made for $400 million. This movie is not that good. It's not the Hitchcock movie that we should be watching. It's just we're watching it because it's Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not comparing Castaway to this movie quality-wise, script-wise, whatever. What I was saying was the acting was not, the words were not giving to a good actor, and it shows. What happens when you give good words, a good script to a good actor, you get Castaway. When you give
How do you know
script.
Dan wasn't gonna? How do you know Dan wasn't gonna say with inflation this movie was more expensive to make than Castaway?
Yeah, why do you presume the consequent there, man?
Yeah.
Plus, I think when you're comparing the scripts of two movies, you're comparing two movies. I mean, I don't mean to split hairs, but that seems to be what we're doing a little bit.
A little bit.
So the score to this movie, right up front, you hit it pretty early in the movie, is one of the weirder scores that I could think of. But it, after Fish Called Wanda, so much more successful for me as a listener.
I was gonna ask you if
it was terrible.
I was gonna ask you if you enjoyed it.
It sounds like the British Army is playing the rhythm part, and the lead is just some guy on a harmonica, and it is so strange. But it like fits kind of the motif of like a heavy rumbling truck, and then literally the guy just plays harmonica. Okay, sure. I don't know Australian music in this era well enough to know like who ought to be doing the score. So sure. I mean, this is one of my first Australian movies as well. I've seen plenty since I saw this one the first time, because this one made me go, wow, there's actually some stuff to mine here. Let's look at more Australian cinema. Ozploitation, as they call it. It turns out there's like a whole subgenre of movies that came out between like 1974 and like 1985 or so. There's a whole bunch. Low budget, made by guerrilla filmmaker kind of stuff. You know, my jams, right? Like we all know. I don't care if your budget is high. I don't care if your script is perfect. I want to see passion when you make the darn movie. And this movie is shot like this guy thinks he is an Oscar contender. His cinematography is fantastic. There's a scene when they stop for the night after the cops get on him about driving too far within a certain amount of time. And literally, you could just have written that scene as they pull over for the night and they start the next day. And instead, you get like an 8-minute scene of just character development between Jamie Lee Curtis and Stacy Keach. And it's not character development like exposition that we need to understand the story. It's just character moments. It's just who they are as people. It's the best waste of 8 minutes in the movie, because it is not advancing the plot really, but it is advancing the development of these characters, and it's doing the thing that Friday the 13th Part 2 does that Friday 7 doesn't, right? It like hooks you into who these characters are. I mean, the movie, if you break down the cast of characters, 12 characters maybe, but these two, you just like, you latch onto after that scene, even if you weren't sure about the truckie, as they call him, early in the movie, even if you didn't love the dingo. I mean, who didn't love the dingo? Right?
I love the dingo.
The dingo's great.
I agree with you, Dan.
So
I
agree.
think that kind of stuff has to happen in this movie. Otherwise, you don't care that she's kidnapped.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to have that scene.
Yeah, it was
if you don't have that scene, you don't have the movie.
Yeah.
But it's so good. It's well shot. You could have just had them go to sleep, and then he could have... I mean, you could have sold it as you could have made it more him, Stacy Keach-centric, and been like, oh, he's really going to have to go after her because he feels a responsibility, or he knows that he's going to be suspected of this one too because he's suspected of the first one. Like, you didn't have to make us love Jamie Lee Curtis's character, and you didn't have to show us more of him. You could have functionally gotten through that scene with, they pull over for the night. Do they or don't they? Just leave that unexplored, and then boom, next day she's on the road. You didn't have to make us love these characters. But the choice to do that in the way they did it, it shows a certain insight into what Richard Franklin, the guy that made the movie, he's operating on a level that I didn't expect out of a guy making his like third movie with no money in Australia, where they don't even really make that many movies. I mean, the dude's doing the work in a way that I didn't expect, hitting way above his pay grade.
I agree.
And then the subtle kind of nuanced way that she's like, oh, I'm going to go excuse myself, right? And it gets dark, and there's not a lot of action, and it's shot like, it's like a subtle tension. You know, it's not the guitar string tightening, but it's like, she's getting farther away. She's getting farther away. If you weren't paying attention, if you were like browsing on your phone and this scene's going on, you're not even going to catch that there's tension building because there is no score. You know, it's a pretty subtle, like, she's getting farther away. She's getting more isolated. and then
I felt it.
slaps you in the face with a lightning bolt, a literal lightning bolt, and you're just like, oh shit, danger, right? But then to have the gall not to resolve it in that scene, but to let it keep playing, like he's operating on a level that you don't expect out of this guy, and he's making a good watchable movie that's not too violent, not too crass. Heck of a movie, guys. I guess I had a PG certificate at one point. I don't know what the current release is. I assume it's R. Side note, I'm going to look at what this is actually rated. Now that I think of it, it might be PG-13. I assume it's R. I've got the British release, so it's 15. That doesn't really help my...
Is that how old you should be to watch it?
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of a PG-13. But in England, you can have boobs in it. Like significant boobs. Because the British aren't all uptight about boobs.
Word. I love how the character is listed in the credits. The guy driving the dark green van. Did you notice that in the credits? He's Smith or Jones.
Yeah. So good.
Smith or freaking Jones.
Well, yeah. And the literal games that they're playing in the truck. It's fun to watch them inform the plot. It's a fun device. It's a fun device that they put in there to fill in the gaps without hitting you with too much exposition.
There are all kinds of road games going on through the movie. Many different levels.
Travis liked the Roadhead better in Parenthood. He didn't like this Roadhead as much. He didn't find it as convincing.
She makes me feel kind of funny. Like when we used to climb the rope in gym class.
He's speechless.
I wish you could see my face. This should have been a video episode so you could see the dumb, goofy face I just made at Travis. PG, guys. 80s PG.
Really?
Yeah. Awesome.
That's surprising.
So you can show some side boob as long as it's pressed against the guitar.
Nice.
This might be the leader for best boobs pressed against the guitar that we've seen this year. And you love guitars.
Beautiful.
I mean, putting two of your favorite things together, George.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like a fantasy. Although she wasn't a very good guitar player.
I have a feeling she was just borrowing his guitar while he got ready for what she thought was going to be.
Right, because, why would he have a guitar string if she was the guitar player?
Right.
Unless they were both guitar players, which I doubt because she didn't look like one. Or sound like one. When she was tuning the guitar, I literally, I could hear the note getting higher, and I'm like, okay, yeah, there it is. And she keeps going.
She keeps going, and you're just like, oh.
Did you feel that too?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's it right there.
Listening to people tune guitars, as a guitar player, it gives me a certain kind of anxiety feeling.
Yeah, same.
Even something as simple as the opening song to Rent. I don't know if you've ever seen Rent, George, but he's tuning a guitar, and so he'll drop it down from E to C, and then tune it back up as part of the song. Even that makes me go, ugh. Hearing people tune guitars is not a thing I like to hear.
Yeah. Although when it's done right, there's a weird satisfaction. There's internet video compilations of things that make you feel satisfied.
Oh, sure. There's resolution when you hit the note. Yeah.
Yeah. So check it out. I'm working at Guitar Center on the weekend. And I usually carry a little Polytune clip-on for when I tune a guitar, because I just, even though I can do it by ear, it's faster with the clip-on. Just clip it on, boom, 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 hand the guitar over to the customer and let him go, right? So dude comes up to the counter and is like, can you tune this for me? And it's an expensive guitar, right? And obviously someone that's ready to buy an expensive guitar. It's not my customer though. It's the other dude's customer. And he goes, he's looking for the tuner. And I was like, I have it right here. You can use mine. He's like, nah, so I'll just do it by ear. And he tunes it by ear in 2 seconds and perfectly and beautifully and just perfect, and hands the guitar back to him. And I was like, and I had that satisfaction moment.
It's almost
in that moment,
like a we're not worthy kind of moment. Whoa.
Almost.
Whoa.
Almost. I was like, whoa. That was satisfying. I didn't mention it to him, but I should have. Damn. Dude, you can sure tune a guitar.
Now, did you know the guy before this, or was this your first time?
I've known him for a long time, but I've never seen him tune a guitar by ear before.
Gotcha. So it wouldn't have been appropriate for you to walk up to him and be like, "Hey, pleased to meet you."
No. No.
That's what it says on the side of the truck. For anyone who hasn't seen the movie yet, the side of his semi,
Yes,
only meat is spelled as in the food. And it makes me smile every time because it's a pig butchering another pig. Guys, foreshadowing.
Oh, shoot. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. This movie's good.
That's good.
There's stuff in this movie.
I like that. I did get the pleased to meet you, though. I was like, aha, that's funny. But I didn't realize the pig on the side was a butcher butchering a pig.
Operating on multiple levels, man.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Now, about
That's
halfway
very good.
through the movie, the cops pull him over. Quid, our main character, played by Stacy Keach. And they point out that his name was on the motel register the night of the murder. And he's like, whoa, anybody could have written my name. It's on the side of my truck, you know? And I'm like, that's a pretty, convenient way to establish, the opposite of an alibi, right? Like why your name is on this book. If you go back and watch the beginning of the movie, the bad guy straight up like looks at his truck and then writes down his name. They actually cover their base pretty well with that. You don't expect that in a low budget movie all the time. But it's not a cop-out. It's well written.
No, and even before he got stopped by the cops, you have multiple instances where, with the dispatcher who's asking him, whatever his number was, like 29 or 7 or something like that, and he's like, it's Pat Quid, or like his name, not his number, but like whatever, and he and he says it in like a kind of like a regal way, like. I'm not I'm just because I drive a truck, it doesn't mean I'm a trucker. I'm Patrick Quid, blah, blah, blah.
He's so cool. He's a cool character.
You see the door multiple times shut and it says like, it says Pat Quid, like independent driver or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So like, he's obviously like his own businessman and like his name is out there. So they made sure that his name was out there before the pullover scene, and then like you said, you see the guy eye up his truck, so boom. So yeah, they did a good job.
Darling, just because I drive a truck does not make me a truck driver. Over. It's so good.
Right.
I mean, because he's on a radio, it makes sense that he would drop the but it's just, man, what a character. So good. Stacy Keach, he's quickly becoming one of my favorites. This era of his work is so good. I watched another one recently called The New Centurions, where he plays like a new street cop. He's in law school. He ends up deciding to be a cop, and then he decides to drop out of law school and just go full cop, right? Like, and George C. Scott's in it as his mentor. And the guy that played Patton, a bunch of other, great actor. Two awesome actors playing off each other in the mean streets of LA, in the like crime-ridden set. Oh, guys, that's a cool flick. We probably will never watch it for the show, but if you're looking for a cop movie that doesn't feel like today's cop movies, that one is really, really good.
Unless we have another cop movie lined up, but that is not available to stream in the U.S., then maybe we'll watch that one.
I mean, they made other cop movies later that were probably better.
Word.
So I mentioned that this was considered Ozploitation. At the time, it probably wasn't. At the time, it was probably just some fluky, weird movie out of Australia. But now looking back, we've got this era of independent filmmaking in Australia that are all better than they should be for their budgets and clever and odd to a time frame that you wouldn't see these movies made the same way today. Even if you had the opportunity to make them, you'd do different. You'd be more fancy with it. These are kind of ground level, gritty movies. The guy that made this movie, Richard Franklin, made a sex comedy that was like a Western. Then he made a movie called Phantasm that is essentially like a softcore porn anthology. Then he makes a film called Patrick. And then he made this movie.
Okay.
I mean, imagine, like, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you have to check out Road Games and then realize that this is the guy's first real movie. And he comes out of the gate firing, man.
It's very good.
Now, that Patrick from 1978, let me tell you, where a guy is controlling people and things with his mind as a comatose patient in a bed. It's very odd. If you like goofy horror movies, you'll probably find a lot to like in that movie. It does not give you the indication that this movie is his next movie. And for Aaron, I got to give a shout out to Patrick Still Lives, the knockoff. But
Word.
we were talking about Quentin Tarantino. One of the reasons Quentin Tarantino is going to be a fan of this Road Games movie is the following movie that Richard Franklin gets tapped to do, and that is the legit sequel to the movie Psycho. George, did you know they made a sequel to the movie Psycho?
Yeah, like Psycho 2, Psycho 3.
Yeah, so Psycho 2 is directed by the guy that directed Road Games. It's made in America.
Really?
And Quentin Tarantino will swear to you that it is as good or better than the original Psycho.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. He might be being a little...
He might be on drugs?
over the top with that. I mean, you could make the argument, though. It's a heck of a movie. It's not as good as Psycho in terms of its influence, obviously, because it comes out in the mid-'80s after all this stuff has come out. But I dare say it's a worthy successor as far as sequels go, as far as part 2s. It's a good part 2 to Psycho, and it brings back Anthony Perkins. It brings back mystery and suspense. And it was made by an Australian director who'd previously done some softcore porn and Road Games and a movie about a guy that was a telekinetic coma patient.
Don't forget Link.
Link, the Zelda character?
No, he made a movie about a killer orangutan called Link.
Ooh, nice.
In the late 80s.
Yeah,
I think he had something to do with one of the road was it Mad Max?
Mad Max was made by George Miller, who is still making movies. Actually, so if you want to look at your Australian scene in the late 70s, one of the big guys that come out of there is George Miller, who made the original Mad Max. He made the most recent one, Fury Road. At one point, he was attached to make Justice League, and they were pretty far into production before they had to pull the plug on that one. George Miller did The Witches of Eastwick. So, I mean, this guy comes out of Australia and becomes mainstream Hollywood, sort of, you know. He's working with Jack Nicholson, though. I mean, that's pretty good. There's one that came out in 79 called The Day After Halloween. And, of course, it was never shot to be a sequel to Halloween, but it was called Snapshot. And it's not at all a body count movie, but it is like a murder mystery, kind of Hitchcockian a little bit. But because Halloween was such a success, they were like, oh, hey, when you market this in America, it's the day after Halloween. That one's fun. I don't compare it to Halloween, though. It's not nearly that good. There's one from 78 called The Long Weekend, which is just a couple who have marital problems going to the woods in a camper for the weekend. And, it's insane, right? It's one that on the horror movies group that Travis and I both complained about on Facebook. A few months ago, a woman, much older than me was like, I saw a movie once and she described the ending of the movie in a sentence, right? And I was like, oh, I just watched that. Yeah, that's Long Weekend, 78. And she's like, how did you know this stupid, obscure movie I was trying to find? I'm like, lady, you came to the right place.
Right.
It's insane. I mean, how can you sustain an hour-and-a-half movie with two characters and a camper in the Australian woods and make it watchable and still make it kind of surprising and twisty?
Is it good? Would you say it's good?
Dan is the Yoda when it comes to stupid and obscure.
I would say The Long Weekend is unique. I would not say it is my favorite of the Australian movies. Now, one that is almost as good as Road Games, and maybe better if you like certain elements of it. There's a movie called Next of Kin. It came out in 82.
I've heard of this one. You've talked about it before.
Next of Kin, I think on the box it says the Australian Deep Red. I don't know if it's the Australian Deep Red, but the last time I watched it, I was like, okay, we're going to compare this to Argento. And it tracks that it's definitely in the same kind of, in the same ballpark. I don't know if the guy making it has the skill of an Argento. He definitely doesn't have the style of Argento, but the twistiness and kind of the nightmarish quality of some of the scenes, it's really good. Don't go into it thinking it's Deep Red 2 or The Day After Deep Red by any means. But if you haven't seen Next of Kin and you like that Argento kind of mid-70s stuff, Next of Kin is pretty awesome. Now, I don't want to spoil the movie yet.
Can I spoil the movie?
I want to talk about one more scene just to get people on board with going to watch this movie because, guys, check it out.
Okay.
There is a scene that is so rare in terms of quality of execution. There's a tense scene with a public bathroom, right? I would say, and maybe George will agree with me, pretty well played tense scene. It kind of misdirects you in a very effective way to where like the tension is there even if maybe you don't deserve the tension for this one moment. But then there is a moment of kind of heroism, right? Where Stacy Keach is going to steal this fast motorcycle and go chasing down the road.
Yeah.
He's going to be James Bond, man. He's going to jack this car and boom, he's going to save the day. And he wipes that thing out within like 2 seconds. Right? Instant fail.
Doesn't get out of the parking lot.
Yeah, he just wipes out right away. I mean, it is such a good incompetent hero moment where it's just like, dude, you are not Batman, right? You're not James Bond. And he just has to like go back to who he is, right? We've established who this guy is as a character.
Yeah, I think he lays that bike down and he goes, shit.
Yeah.
And he
grabs
jumps in his trailer.
Grabs his dingo and hops in the trailer. Like it's a cool moment because you just see him like realize, oh wait, I have a ceiling as well. And then he has to come back down and then he, continues on his hero's journey. But it's I've never seen a movie that could do it so quick and so effectively and have it fit the tone and characters of the movie.
I think that there is a better scene in this movie.
Go on.
That is a tension builder. And the only actors in the scene are Stacy Keach and his dingo.
I love that dingo, man.
It's towards the end when he is so tired. He's like basically falling asleep at the wheel, but not really falling asleep. He's more hallucinating, right? And he keeps messing with the curtain behind him. It's right after he stops on the side of the road, and I don't want to like give away too much, but he sees the suspect van. He investigates, and then when he gets back to his van, realizes. Or no, actually, it's before he realizes that the back door was open. Anyways, all very, very creepy. But it's creepy, but he doesn't know it's creepy, necessarily. Get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I love that scene. No, it's so good. It's dramatic irony.
The dingo knows it's creepy. You watching, it's creepy. Stacy Keach doesn't know it's creepy yet. All he knows is he can barely stay awake, right? And by staying awake, he's hallucinating. And there's like I don't know if it's a jump scare necessarily, but there's this whole thing with he's messing with the curtain behind him. Because obviously he's in a tractor trailer. There's a whole cabin behind him or like a space back there. And you're thinking that the killer is in there. Or he could be.
Right. You don't know whether...
for that. Right. And you're waiting for this entire time when he's hallucinating that gloved hand to come out of the curtain to kill him. And I can't tell you whether it ever happens or not. But it's so suspenseful, and it's just him. It's just him and his dingo. I don't know.
The movie is
very good.
Such a good presentation for Stacy Keach as an actor. By himself.
I can't believe, other than the fact that, this movie is obscure. I get you, Trav. I can't believe you didn't like this movie.
I really thought we had one that I was going to surprise Travis, and he'd be like, oh, thank you, Dan, for showing me this movie. What a presentation of acting.
I get it. It's not mainstream. It's not,
it doesn't have to be mainstream.
Doesn't really.
It just has to be good. And it was not good for me.
I can't believe you didn't like it, man. I can't believe it, dude. We're usually on the same page about. Well, I mean, this happened with.
It's like
one movie before.
The scene you're talking about, I enjoyed that scene because that's the stuff I like.
Right, but there was a lot of that.
Like the whole thing in the meat locker and all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's fine. But the shit that took me out. You have to understand. I've said this many times, but I don't know if it gets talked over, or everybody's thinking of a smart thing to say as I say it, so they don't hear me say it. But what I say is,
"Hi, this is Dan in post." I'm just kidding. I'm screwing with Travis. Hey, but keep in mind, George loved this movie for 45 minutes. Continue.
The acting. If there's something that takes me out of a movie, then I'm lost. Because for me, not lost like I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You've lost me as a viewer because you've taken me out of the experience. A good movie, good actors, good everything, keeps you in the story. For this, the scenes you're talking about, I love the opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scenes with him and his dog. I love the scene with him just doing him.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with this movie is all the filler shit that takes you out of the movie. It becomes almost a slapstick movie with the old lady and the biker in pink and the guy with the balls, and like all those things just were so ludicrously stupid and not part of a thriller that it took me out of a thriller. So I want to feel those shadowy scenes.
That's a valid complaint, Dan.
And that's what took me out of it. And then at the end, I'm not going to give away the ending, but those things kept happening. Like even with the tension chase in the alley where everything gets smaller and smaller to the point where he's dragging parts of his truck off to continue to go. You have the Keystone Cops that are taking you out of that. Like, I don't want that. I want to be tense. I don't want to see him looking through a meat locker thinking that something's going to jump out at him and the music's going. Like, to me, it's just like, okay, where's the tension music to go with the scene that's happening?
Except for he was going crazy at that time, like hallucinating and stuff.
But that's
okay.
fine. I don't need music to tell me he's going crazy. The actor is showing me he's going crazy.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Dan in post. Is Travis trying to tell us that the score of the movie needs to fit, or the score of the movie doesn't have to fit if the acting is good? I mean, I like cake, but I can't eat it and also have it. Can Travis?
Can you imagine in The Shining if you got clown music when Nicholson was walking around the hedges?
I bet you could do that and make it scary if you picked the right clown music.
Maybe if it was like eerie clown music, but not this. Like, to me, that's my problem with this movie. I enjoyed those things. I enjoy the character development. I enjoy the tension building. But when you take me out of a story, it's hard for me to get back in.
All right, Dan, I think that Travis has a legitimate complaint here. What is this movie?
And it happened a few times.
Is it a thriller or is it a comedy?
Well, I thought it was going to be a slasher.
It tries to be both.
Right. I thought it was going to be a slasher type, like, because that's what she was doing at the time.
Right.
And the trailer kind of took me there.
You mean JLC?
Yeah. And the trailer kind of made it look like it was it was Rear Window, but it had, this. There's a movie called Body Double, too, which we might watch.
Oh, I hope so. God, I hope we watch all the De Palma movies.
Well, someone witnesses something, and then the whole movie, it's kind of like a giallo, where they witness, what was the one we watched? Was it Plumage, where he witnessed a murder, and then the whole movie is him either, did he see it or did he not see it, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I love that shit.
Okay, for the record, though, George, cover your ears. There's hysterical comedy in Body Double.
Yes, there is. But it works because he's an actor.
Yeah.
And he's involved in like acting things.
Is it? Hold on, I didn't cover my ears.
Good, because actually I wanted your input on that, George.
Is it really good comedy, or is it like slapstick?
A lot of
comedy?
it falls really short of any. I mean, at one point, yeah, there's one moment in Body Double that even I, as a fan of Body Double, every time I watch it, I go, oh, I still can't believe they did that.
It's cringy.
Yeah, it's so stupid, fine. And it's from De Palma, who, I mean, De Palma has won a movie, Blowout, that came out right before Body Double, that is so much more straightforward and unfun. And then Body Double is like the fun one with all the same pieces. This one, you can have a fun movie that's also tense. Like, you don't have to just pick one.
But this isn't that. It's not, the fun doesn't complement the tense. Like, sometimes people laugh uncomfortably when they're in a situation. They'll laugh or they'll find humor in something to kind of bring themselves back to, you know, if they were really tense. Let's say you're in a moment.
It's
and
a
you're
coping.
scared.
It's a coping mechanism
right?
For some people, yeah.
But it's rarely Keystone Cops slapstick.
Right.
I don't know, man. Body Double is pretty. Like, that's a funny of all the movies you could have picked. That's like the perfect one to pick because it has so much. It has so much unsuccessful comedy that is cringy. It's not, but it's still a fun movie and it's still a good movie, sort of. It's a worthwhile movie to watch.
But this isn't. This is not Body Double. Body Double is like Silence of the Lambs compared to this.
But see, George, the thing is, if you'd seen Body Double right now, you'd be like, but wait. You don't have a valid point because you just made the point.
No, I would probably
for the same reason that this one's bad.
I think I saw Body Double in 1987 and I never watched it again.
Oh, you should watch it. It's fun.
I'm
it's
pretty
fun
consistent. It's like saying, okay, let's watch what's a serious vampire movie, and then all of a sudden it turns into Once Bitten, and it's like, oh my god, like seriously, they're. It's like watching Silence of the Lambs, and he's like. Closer, please. Closer. And he farts. Like, to me, it's like you're making it tense, and then he's farting. Like, it just doesn't fit. So with this movie, you're making me tense. You're showing me some situations where I should be uncomfortable, and then you try to break it by putting in stupid shit.
I tend to agree, man.
I don't like it.
But what in particular? You said there's Keystone Cops. Especially
at the end, yeah.
Other than the ending Keystone Cops, what other? You said the guy with the balls in his car. Why is that stupid? Is it because he has too many balls in his car, or is it because Stacy Keach makes a comment to himself?
That worked. That worked because he was driving and he was making up characters while he's driving past people. I do it all the time when I'm driving. Trying to assume what these people were.
How accurate were his characters that he was making up for them?
That stuff doesn't bother me.
So it's just the Keystone Cops, but then cops in these movies are always Keystone.
No, it's not just the Keystone Cops.
The accountant's wife was annoying as shit.
Yeah.
The biker in the pink leotard, he's
red in my copy. So, I don't know why the streaming copy.
He's red. He's
whatever.
Yeah, I thought he
pink
was red
is a value
too.
of red. But it's like he's driving around like a Pepto-Bismol bottle, and it's too much.
No, he was like candy apple in my version.
Yeah, no, he was real
splitting
red.
hairs, right?
What's that?
Splitting hairs, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
he was.
You know, you can't say he looks like Pepto-Bismol if on our copies he looks like a big old.
I thought he was
bright red, matching his motorcycle outfit. Like,
honestly, I don't even remember what color it was. I just remember it was stupid. Does stupidity have a color?
People wear suits that go with their motorcycles. That's like a biker thing. You see it, with the Kawasaki style, like sport bikes.
I wish I did this last week.
It was so red.
I wish I did this last week.
I thought it was so red. It could have been Eddie Murphy.
Whatever. He was stupid.
Driving.
It was almost the Thriller jacket.
It would have been stupid.
Or not the Thriller. Yeah, the Thriller jacket or the Beat It jacket.
Mm-hmm.
One of those kind of red.
Okay. I'm gonna remain quiet for the rest of this episode because you're fucked nuts.
Please don't.
Seriously, it's like I have a legitimate argument.
I know.
You guys
I'm trying to work it out myself.
I didn't say like last week was like, yeah, just not loving it. Yeah, that movie was shit. Nah, just that. But no one argued it. Which I guess we should have.
Well, that was your fault because
And here I'm taking a legitimate argument. I'm saying this movie, I liked parts, but then there's a lot of things that make it horrible. Why didn't we watch Rear Window? I just don't understand how this fits into our criteria. That's all. Other than the Jamie Lee Curtis, which again, she's only in it for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it brought us Trading Places and Fish Called Wanda, so it also brought us Road Games. Maybe we need to call Jamie Lee.
But no one's heard of this movie other than you and Quentin Tarantino. Like, this movie, I looked it up. There's 3 reviews on the entire internet of this movie. 3 reviews. It's like so obscure that I don't even think Jamie Lee Curtis has seen it.
Hi, this is Dan in Post. Point of clarification. 62 reviews on the IMDb for Road Games at the time of publishing. And the movie's got releases from Scream Factory in the US and Indicator in the UK, both on Blu-ray. So, I mean, I know Travis didn't see it when he was a kid, but people have seen this movie. Anyway.
It's possible.
And I loved Stacy Keach. Like, I love what he did in this movie. What he was given, but I love what he did in this movie. it's just it's a movie that I'm not surprised that no one knows what it is, and whether there are people that are going to think it's good, but there's people that think that
A Fish Called Wanda
Prom
was
Night
good.
well, that's an Oscar award-winning movie. So.
No, I think A Fish Called Wanda is good too.
Oh man,
I mean,
still can't
it's not
believe
like I'm telling you to watch Rat Boy and telling you it's the greatest movie ever made, or this, you guys got to watch this, and then you're basically just bait and switching people.
Now, hold on. So, see, I'm on the fence because there have been movies where Dan has tried to make me like them by telling me what their budgets were.
Yeah, it
like
doesn't
Clerks.
work for me.
I don't care how much the budget was.
Right.
Like, I still don't really like Clerks. It's like, it's fine. It's whatever. This movie, though, I did not think was bad at all.
Okay.
And I thought it had a bigger budget than it did.
Well, last I checked, this is America, and we're allowed to have opinions.
Yeah,
So
true.
you can like it, and
yeah,
I can
no,
hate
no,
it, and
it's
we
fine.
can go have a beer. Like, it's the way it is.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. And I also agree with you that like some of the slapstick stuff was like it takes you out of it. I agree.
And I didn't like the killer. I thought he was kind of lame.
I don't think it was really about the killer.
No,
as
but I mean, he
much.
was lame. Like the
It
opening
wasn't really
scene made
about
him really
him.
cool. Well, it kind of was.
It was about Quid. The movie wasn't about the killer. That's kind of like
It
that's
doesn't
the
have to be
big
about
twist.
the killer, but when you finally reveal, he was lame. Like it was about the killer. It was about him hunting down this legend that he created while he was driving.
Right.
So it's like, seeing Darth Vader for the first time, and then he sounds like Elmo. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
wow,
But-
this is the guy that's been wiping out 20 women.
Guys, does
He's
the
a
dingo
weenie.
even exist, or is Quid really the killer? I think we should probably stop here for people that haven't seen the movie, so we'll speak openly from here on out. So we might spoil it for you. It's a hell of a movie. Even if you know the ending, you're still going to check it out, right? Because it's awesome. Anyway.
It's as good as New York Ninja.
God, New York Ninja's fun.
What was the dingo's name?
It's fun.
What was the dingo's name?
What was the dingo's name? Was it it was some big
Russ?
Stockton or
No.
something? It was Stockwell,
Russ?
Stockton. I don't remember the dog's name. Spoiler alert, it's actually a dog, not a dingo, which is such a fun little twist that you don't need, but it's like a Bosworth. That's the name of the dog.
Bosworth.
Okay,
Uh,
so this is the Bosworth theory.
Yeah, the Bosworth
Bosworth.
theory. Yeah. So what if Bosworth doesn't exist and he does pick
Mhm.
up that hitchhiker at the beginning and he does kill her, right? And then he
Mm-hmm.
fakes his logbook and then gets away with it. Pretty good twist.
Hmm.
I've not actually gone through and tried to score whether that's possible given what you're given, but it wouldn't surprise me a bit if it was possible. Especially with his tendency to drive when he's not sleeping enough and his
with this-
hallucinatory tendencies
Well,
on
with
the road.
this director obviously doesn't make any mistakes.
No,
or
everything that Richard Franklin
everything
does.
is in the movie for a reason.
And if you ever see
Did
the
I
movie
miss-
Phantasm, you'll know everything
Did I
is
miss
in the
a
movie
reel
for a reason.
on this movie?
Maybe.
Or is Jamie Lee Curtis just basically in every movie she's in automatically acts like she's known you for like 4 or 5 months? Like, she gets in the truck and within 2 minutes,
This is the second instance of
the dialogue
Hitchhiking.
and
Yeah,
behavior
it's her second hitch. And
seems
it's,
like she's
chronologically,
been-
this is her second hitchhiking because this is after the fog.
But doesn't
And
that seem
actually,
weird?
this is the youngest she's looked to
Yeah,
me
yeah.
in any movie.
Well, and
But isn't that weird?
she's so good in little
Yeah,
clips because in
that's
all
weird.
these movies that we've talked about, she's not really the primary character in anything since Prom Night, right? Because Trading Places is definitely
Mhm.
not the main character. But in each
Mhm.
of those movies, she's so likable, approachable,
Mhm.
but yet subtly different. And in this one, when you find out who she is, it makes sense for how she's played the character. That yeah, she's this kind of fly by the seat of her pants, but has the security of a important, powerful father. Like that fits with exactly how she carries herself from moment one in the truck, where she is just
Mhm.
at ease, not worried about anything, and just kind of open and down to try to track down this killer.
No, the at ease was not the issue. For me, it was almost like I missed a page of dialogue. Like, they just started. She already had all this information on the killer, and it was like their dialogue was almost like they had been talking for like an hour and a half, and it just seemed the comfortableness wasn't what threw me. I almost honestly thought like they had been talking for a while and then I just missed it.
When it could have been that
nodded off.
I don't remember the cut. I'd have to go back and look, but they might have just cut to later on down the road. They might have thought, this movie
No, it was right when
doesn't
she got
need-
in.
Well, then
She
it's
put the bag
just
down
her
and
being
then she started
awesome.
talking about the killer. Like it just seemed very forced. It wasn't like because they were playing the road game and
Yeah.
they were like making assumptions or whatever, but it was almost like they both had way too much information for that conversation that was not provided, if that makes sense. I know he was getting information from the newscasts.
Yeah. And he was also getting some from his imagination too.
Right, but she's like able to go toe to toe with that conversation with
Yeah,
him.
she follows
She doesn't have a
immediately.
radio with her. She's not hearing what's going on.
Yeah, but I think you kind of assume that everyone's listening to the news. I think I kind of feel like anything that is said on the news on the radio is kind of fair game for any character in
But
the
she's
movie
been
to
out
know.
on the road, like just thumbing it.
Well, but she thumbed it from one point to another, so she obviously was picked up at some point. We don't know by whom. Obviously not Green Van guy because she's
She
not
could-
dead.
Yeah, no, she.
Yeah,
really
she
did.
could have been picked up by just married people. She could have been picked up by Beach Balls guy,
Could have been
She
picked
could
up
have
by
been
the
picked up-
husband that's the accountant.
the husband, the accountant. Yeah, she could have been picked up by, and she had to have been, right?
Yeah, because she
That
kept
would
making
make
it down the
sense.
road.
So
She-
I kind of feel like anything that's on the news that you heard on the radio. Also, this guy's killed like 20 girls apparently. So this isn't like something that's just happening right now. This is like an ongoing story that anyone in the area would know. So that didn't surprise me that much. That information is
No,
kind
it wasn't a
of fair game.
surprise to me. I thought I missed something. That's all.
No. But I agree. Like she does like kind of just get in there. But I kind of feel like as soon as she gets picked up, she's like looking for an adventure. Like she's like she wants to do anything but be normal. You know what I mean?
Well, she's got to get to California.
Is that where she's trying to go?
I don't know, but that's where she ends up in the fog.
The fog
work.
was before this. This was after she had fun in California, had to get off the island or off the coast for a little while. So she went to Australia. By terror train, actually. It was a really weird way to
By
go.
terror
but
train, right?
She hopped a terror train and ended up in Australia. What a weird couple of years she had.
Mm.
Yeah, for real. I like how kangaroos are basically like Australian deer.
That looked like no, I can't make that reference. 'Cause you've never
No,
seen-
I know what you're gonna say.
What?
Well, I don't know what you're gonna say, but I know the scene you're gonna say it about, because that was also like, what the hell?
There's like a large Marge scene.
Yeah.
Oh,
in,
man.
in Big Adventure.
Yeah, I kept thinking about Pee-wee in this. It's such a...
That's what it was. This movie is Pee-wee's Big Adventure without any of the funny shit.
But do you think you get a Pee-wee's Big Adventure if Tim Burton doesn't see Road Games?
Probably not.
So, I mean, you got to build from somewhere.
Then let's watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I am down to watch Pee-wee
I'm down.
anytime. Anytime, except for the next couple of weeks. But then after that, I'm done anytime to watch Pee-wee.
Yeah, if we have to watch Rear Window, then Pee-wee's Big Adventure, we get the same experience with two good movies.
Can we watch Rear Window next week?
We can watch Rear Window in like 5 weeks. 8 weeks. We've got a plan here, bro. We got to stick.
The fungus.
Yeah, we got to. We're slaves to the calendar right now.
Okay. I can't promise that I'm not going to watch Rear Window.
You can watch Rear Window if you want to.
I'm going to.
You might want to
I
wait
think.
though for the show. Save it for the pod.
Save it for the pod.
This week I watched a movie called Psycho Cop Returns.
Yeah.
I've
Oh,
never seen the
that.
original Psycho Cop. But I have Psycho Cop Returns. And the first time I watched it, I remember thinking like, oh, this movie has a lot of good, but it's also like the shittiest movie I've ever seen in my life. But this time, coming back to it after we've had basically after a year and a half of doing this show, the killer in that movie is so trying to be the guy from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, right? The garbage day kind of killer. But it's set in like a fake Nakatomi Plaza, like it's Die Hard meets Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Guys,
Oh man, that's a bad combination.
it is so crappy. But I had so much fun this time because going in, I knew how crappy it was. I was like, man, this is a romp. I'm glad I watched it again.
Okay.
Travis would not like that movie. is what I'm saying.
No,
I don't even like it, and I haven't seen it, but I go by the title, and I won't watch it.
I was gonna say, Dan, you do you, bro.
He doesn't like Keystone Cops or Psycho Cops.
I just don't like bad movies. I can't sit there and go, oh, it's a horrible movie, but it was a lot of fun. Like that's just not me.
I don't think it was a horrible movie.
This was not a horrible movie.
No,
but there was just horrible stuff going on that made it a bad experience for me. That's all. There's no changing it. There's no Peter Weller that's going to change my mind.
Silent Night, Deadly Night was a horrible movie.
That was horrendous.
I can't believe
that movie.
I can't believe you broke on this one and not Silent Night, Deadly
Why?
Night.
I said I hated that too. I said the only thing that was good about that was the vintage Star Wars stuff in the toy store.
Okay, I guess you're right.
I did say that. I hated that movie.
Punish.
But at least we had like cool fixes.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about how we would fix the movie.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you would fix road games by just cutting all attempts at humor and changing the score once in a scene.
How much did I fucking gush over Scream? Humor works if it's done correctly. It ends tension. It builds tension. No, you want me to be the victim, Mr. Ghostface? Like she's being funny, but that scene is tense as hell.
Funny? I don't know. That I
didn't laugh.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not funny.
I laughed more at Jamie Kennedy being like,
no,
Jamie behind you.
No, that wasn't funny.
Like that.
What I'm saying is she was trying to be funny in a tense scene, and it worked. It worked.
Okay.
For Travis, the gatekeeper of comedy.
She was trying to be.
That's the only scene in the movie you don't like.
I don't think
the
the scene was funny.
All right, fuck you both.
I thought it was suspenseful. You said she's trying to be funny, and I agree she's trying to be funny, but that's not humor.
I might be quitting this evening.
No, don't quit.
We haven't even gotten to next week's movie yet. Can we say something about the ending of Road Games that I want to highlight because
that was the best part,
dude. The ending of Road Games.
It was over.
The ending of Road Games when the cop puts his hand on the shoulder of the bad guy and is like, "You're not leaving, bud." Like competent police work
again.
In a Jalo.
I had another problem. That scene I had a problem with.
What was it?
Why the fuck? He had an out. He was gone. They were arresting Keach. Why the hell is he backing up so slowly? Takes him 25 minutes to back out of that alleyway for that cop to walk up behind him and be like,
maybe it wasn't.
You son, where do you think you're going?
Maybe it wasn't that long. Maybe it was fucking long for the killer.
Maybe if he turns and runs, everybody goes, "Hey, that guy just ran away," and everybody else is standing here. That's not suspicious.
You walk away.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You drop the gun immediately. And you don't run. You just walk briskly out of the restaurant.
You do exactly the opposite of what Michael Corleone did. Yes.
Right. Drop the gun immediately. Walk swiftly out of the restaurant.
I was just so happy to see competent police. Anytime I see competent police work in a movie like this, I go, you were able to sustain my interest in a thriller plot without having to make the cops 100% incompetent, which a lot of these movies, even the good ones, will lean on bad policing.
Mm-hmm.
And this one doesn't really do that. I mean, even the kind of goofy cops that pull him over.
It did a lot, though.
But the
until the very last scene.
cops that pull him over are kind of goofy because they're goofy, like, dudes. But they're doing a good job at their police work. They are competently evaluating his logbook and seeing whether they need to keep an eye on him. And, they're not wholly incompetent, which is what I kind of expect from mystery movies like this.
Okay, well, they are incompetent, though, because they obviously think that this guy is suspicious and he's not. So they're wrong. Maybe they're not incompetent, but they're wrong. And the phone call that he tries to make from the bar, right? That Quid tries to make from the bar. Terrible scene.
Oh my!
Terrible scene. Hilarious.
It's obvious.
Scene. He's so frustrated by the bad phone connection.
Dude, I think I'm kind of like, I'm with See, I'm on both sides. I'm right in the middle of the fence because I did like the movie. It had qualities of it that I liked. There were gems in it that I loved. But like that scene, Travis is shaking his head. I agree. That was terrible. But like him on the phone trying to just report a tip, the cops were so incompetent that he couldn't even. He got so frustrated that he hung up the phone.
Well, I think he was supposed to have a bad phone connection. Have you ever had a bad phone connection, George? It's very difficult.
It could be a bad phone connection. I don't know.
That's the whole.
I don't remember ever having a bad phone connection when I was on a landline.
Well, that's because you were a baby. When we used to call long distance, especially if you got a bad, if it was 2 or 3 sections over on the. I mean, you could get to where like it sounded like you were, shouting down an echo chamber. God, I remember one time in the early 2000, early to mid, 2005-ish, I had to talk on the phone to India from the United States. And I mean, my God, trying to think about, getting any kind of number to go across or any kind of single vowels, as you're trying to spell things, just forget it. Like,
right.
The quality of those calls, especially before everything went digital, was garbage. And that's the whole conceit of the scene, is that he cannot get through to him. And then they turn the music on and,
The situation I get, you're right. When you're trying to make a phone, but we don't know it was long distance. Could have been a town over.
Yeah, I don't think it was long distance.
There are no towns, guys. That's the whole. I mean, the whole point of this movie is there's cities on one side of Australia, nothing, and then cities on the other side of Australia.
Right.
So it has to be long distance, because that's the whole.
Because he's in the middle of nowhere.
He's in the middle of nowhere.
But again, the situation didn't bother me. It was the dialogue, the writing of it, and the delivery of it. Like, it just was. It took me out of it. It wasn't tense. It was goofy. It wasn't dire. It was annoying. If that makes sense. Like, not once did I feel bad for him or anybody. It just seemed goofy. It seemed out of place.
Yeah, and the locals were treating him like crap for no reason.
Like, that scene would have been a lot better if he found a payphone on the side of the road, and it would have been him doing the acting. The situation is there. He's trying to report something. It's going in and out, and you can hear him trying to tell.
It can be the wind messing you up or something.
That scene would have been fine, because it would have set the tone. He's isolated. He's in the middle of nowhere. He's trying to report a murder. He's following this killer. And the person on the other end of the line can't understand what he's saying. He's repeating, Dimitri. He's like saying stuff to him, trying to get the story out. Like, that would have been tense.
Yeah, can we take those two scenes and like put them side by side?
So Stacy Keach is talking to the president.
Yeah.
Strangelove.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
No, but I mean,
that's
you guys. I don't know if you guys didn't buy into the whole conceit that they can't understand him because the phone connection's poor, and then the guy turns on the music so he can't hear that. That actually, it harkens back well to a scene in Deep Red, but of course, I don't know if you guys have seen Deep Red or remember that scene, but
it's been a while.
It's like
I've watched it 3 times.
It's a straight out of Deep Red kind of thing, but I don't know.
Okay, but it does. It's a good way to show tension, and it's a good way to show, the isolation. But when you do something that's tense and you put it in a not Keystone Cops, like a Ringling Brothers clown situation where this guy's playing a pinball and this guy's, bumping the whatever, like, it's just like, okay.
How dare these other characters be doing anything?
I kind of agree with Travis.
It's fine, man. I'm not here to fix you yet. If you haven't seen enough movies to know that every time anyone goes into a small town bar or small town store where nobody knows them, that the trope is that everybody acts like, assholes because they don't know who this new guy is. Like, you described a trope.
I didn't get that from a scene.
Oh, really?
I get that trope. I've been watching movies since I was like 12.
I did.
But to me, it was just annoying.
He got a shitty look from everybody in that restaurant or whatever it can be. I don't know.
Actually, Terminator. Sarah Connor's trying to call the cops. There's a strange guy following her. She's talking on a payphone. It's a loud club. She knows that somebody's tailing her. She's telling the police. They're telling her to stay there. She feels unsafe. Completely tense.
An American Werewolf in London. 2 American people walk into a pub. You immediately know.
But that's a good movie.
That's what I'm saying. You're describing a good scene with a bad phone call, and I'm describing a good scene where the locals don't like the newcomers.
It's been done many times.
I don't like that scene, bro. I don't like it.
You don't have to like it.
But I feel like I have to justify why I don't.
Nah, I hear you.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm dying on this hill, and it's fine.
You're not dying.
I don't care.
I'm with you for half of it.
I wish you would have seen this movie when you were 7.
I just can't believe we watched this movie before like 1,000 other movies. That's all. That's one of the things that bothers me.
Let's get JLCs in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George wanted
Let's just not.
JLCs. We gave him a variety of JLCs.
Yeah, can I get more JLC next time?
No.
That's like my number one complaint.
You almost got a whole lot of JLC, but then James Cameron wouldn't let us watch True Lies.
Can I please get more JLC? There was not enough JLC in this movie. I'm not even sure if this qualifies as a
No, it
JLC
doesn't.
movie.
It's not a JLC. It's not a slasher. It's not a horror movie, and it's not a JLC movie.
She's in it
Why
for 10
doesn't
minutes.
this fit into my boxes?
Right.
It's okay.
You guys need to be nicer. I'm going to make you watch Phantasm next. That'll hit
I'm
us
gonna
on
give-
YouTube. People be checking that YouTube
No,
out.
as long as it's Phantasm with a PH.
No, I'm
Oh,
talking about the one
yeah, I'll
directed by
watch
this guy.
Yeah, no, not the one with the F.
It's
Phantasm.
it's not great.
Sounds like a Phillies baseball
No, Phantasm
mascot.
with a PH is a lot better than this.
I don't know, man. I might prefer this one to Phantasm.
There's
with the
2
PH.
Phantasms.
There's an American
Can we
franchise.
take a pause? Because I have to pee really bad.
Yeah, he's doing the pee squirm.
Yeah, I got pee-pees. Pee-pee
Yeah,
dance.
go do your peepees.
Guys, I think I'm getting better at
Peeing.
critiquing movies.
Good.
Well, you've seen like 50 of them now, so
66.
Like, I'm good enough to recognize the good stuff that apparently only Dan sees. And I'm also good enough to see the bad stuff, which is apparently all Travis sees. So I feel like I'm pretty good at this.
I see it.
Nah, you said there's parts that you like. You said
There's
that.
a lot of people that
I'm exaggerating.
don't like this movie.
But
no, I don't think there are because only 3 people have seen it. So
well,
No, I said
there's
3
only
people have
reviewed it. Were the 3
Oh.
reviews positive or no?
They're people like Dan who have like
that's positive. They're positive.
So the 3 reviews are positive.
No, what I'm saying is like
so this movie has
they're
a 100% success rate.
not that it's a bad thing, but like Dan will buy the next, was it the Vinegar
Vinegar Syndrome 4K
Syndrome
release.
fourth release of the third movie? Like they just those kind of people. They're like, oh, it's another version of Toxic Avenger. I gotta have it. Like,
Right.
And most people are like, yeah, I saw Toxic Avenger and I really wasn't feeling it. So most people feel that way. And then there's the film geeks and the trench people that are like, oh yeah, it's the greatest movie ever made. And everybody else looking at it, I'm like, yeah, no.
Well, I'm glad that Friday
Right.
the 13th parts 2 through 11 kept it fresh for you, Travis, because I remember you liking all of those.
Yeah, I'm not referencing those. I'm referencing like watching Phenomena for maggots or watching what do we watch? Silent Night, Deadly Night for I don't know why.
Or a bird with crystal plumage for not the bird with the crystal plumage. Or for the bird with not crystal plumage. For a gray,
Prom Night
a
was not
a
good.
GD gray bird.
that
There's
gray
so
bird
many-
really got into your under your skin there,
GD
George.
Gray bird.
I didn't realize you were an
Oh, shit.
ornithologist when we started this podcast, but now I know.
So let's bring this whole thing back to me because
Yes, bring it back
this
to
this
George.
is all about me. Anyway, yeah, like I said, I at the beginning I said, listen, I think I'm 50-50 on this movie, and I got a good angel on
And
one
we're still
shoulder,
50-50.
a bad angel on the other,
That's good.
and I think that this is almost the most predictable outcome we could have had, given the circumstances. And I'm still 50-50 on this movie.
And that's okay. You know, the thing about movies is they exist beyond your first viewing. You can watch it later and decide, like, hey, today, this movie's 70-40. And you give it an extra 10% because Dan's tired and forgot how numbers work.
I feel like I'm gonna rewind it because I have it rented on Prime, and what I do is I get to like the last 30 seconds of the movie, and then I rewind all the way back to the beginning and watch it again. So I'm probably gonna watch this again tonight.
You gotta have Meg
after
watch
we hang
it.
up.
This is a good one to watch with a wife who doesn't watch gross, scary movies because it's like scary enough, but not like super gross.
Yeah, she's not.
But see,
send me the DVD because I'm not renting it again. But she should, and she's not going to watch it tonight. She's asleep already. But
what was the movie with Kurt Russell?
But I agree with you, Dan. Go ahead.
Where he's driving and I can't remember.
Kurt
and
Russell.
His wife is kidnapped.
Kurt Russell.
I'm trying. It's like from the 90s.
I know of no such movie off the top of my head.
It's the same premise, but it's not like a voyeuristic, Rear Window type thing. It's more like an abduction. Like the couple is driving cross country, and they stop at a rest stop to get food and go to the bathroom, whatever. And then, while the husband's waiting for his wife to come out of the bathroom, she never comes out, and she's basically been abducted by a trucker. And the whole movie is him trying to find her, and it just gets deeper and deeper. The movie was tense from beginning to end, and to me, that kind of movie is this kind of movie. But this kind of movie, I didn't like because of the things I said.
Breakdown.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was him and the actress is really good, but she has done nothing lately.
Kathleen Quinlan.
I'm
reading the IMDb page. I'm not familiar with this movie.
I was working at the movie theater. It came out like 96, right?
97.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. I'm always within a year. But yeah, I remember
for every 10 years
watching that. And like, what was the other one? Primal Fear is another one where it's like just the tension. I love tension, and I love the thriller, and I love all that stuff. I just don't like being taken out of it.
Well, see, and you have to remember that some movies are tense from beginning to end, and at the end you're like, oh, God, whew, that was tense from beginning to end. And some movies are kind of like tense at parts and fun at parts, and then tense at parts, and then fun at parts. They're different. It's a different thing.
Don't mix. That, to me, that's where I get lost. Like, yes, Stacy Keach character saying funny things while following the guy works. It's his character. They establish in the beginning he's a bit of a smartass. His interaction with the dispatcher, all that stuff, good humor, can say crass things to her, and like you said, over. Like, all that stuff is funny, but the tense stuff should be tense. And if you want to break the tension with humor, then you have to figure out a creative way to do it without it being slapstick. Because then slapstick, it's like, oh, am I watching Abbott and Costello Meet the Mummy? Like, it's just like, oh, yeah, it's scary. There's a mummy, but he's going... Like, it's not scary enough. It's just, oh, there's the mummy. Oh, and there's Goofy, Abbott and Costello. Like, it never gets tense. So when you put tension and humor in the very same scene, and Halloween does it right.
I was just about to say, I'm really glad you saw Halloween before 2021, because I think we would be having a lot of these conversations if nostalgia wasn't here to keep you.
No, but I mean, Halloween does it right. Like, he comes to the room to kill her wearing a ghost costume. Like, it's funny.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Why is he under a sheet? When did he cut the eye holes? Like, how does he know what a ghost looks like under a sheet? He was 6 when he went to the place. Like, where did he even see that was an idea for a costume?
I know there's a lot of unexplained.
If you want to be an a-hole about it, you can do this to all the movies.
It's like I missed a whole reel of
him watching on TV as the Peanuts walk by, and he's like, "Oh man, I get it, Charlie Brown, but let me make a better ghost costume. Hold on, I've got some sheets right here and some time." Like, if you want to pick it apart, we can pick it apart in any movie, and that's the thing. If a movie doesn't get your ghost right from the beginning, you might be more apt to pick it apart, like Wanda and I, where, if I would have just been like, you know what, I'm going to go with it, and this movie's going to be entertaining at parts, and I'm going to love it, I probably would have come out of it like that. I think with Wanda, I had higher expectations because of John Cleese, and I think here you had higher expectations for reasons. I wouldn't dare guess your reason. But my reasons were John Cleese.
I think Wanda was better than this movie.
And it might have been. I don't think it was. It wasn't for me.
I like it.
But
I like it more.
I think
I like it more. It wasn't having an identity crisis the whole time like this one.
I don't think this one's having an identity crisis. I think it's just not fitting in your box. Like, you've got a box that says thriller, and you've got a box that says awkward comedy. And this one's just being itself, and you're like, oh, which one do I assign it to? It's not thrilly enough to be a thriller. It's not funny enough to be a funny. Like, let the movie be itself, man.
And it was. It was itself.
It'll continue to be itself.
It will. And it'll be itself when you watch it later tonight and you go, oh, damn it, Dan was right. 51%, 49%.
51-49.
That scene with Jamie Lee walking away as the sun sets and then the storm comes. That scene alone is worth 2%.
I'll watch it again. I'll try.
Hey, Travis, what are we watching next week, man?
I don't know.
Travis is like, I don't know if I'm coming back next week.
I don't know.
Oh.
What are we watching next week? Hopefully a movie that is more well known.
Supposed to be watching True Lies, which we already did the intro for that last week.
Yeah, True Lies isn't going to happen for now. We're going to have to come back to that once James Cameron gets his head out of his butt.
We are going to start off the Christmas season with a movie called Scrooged.
Scrooged.
Do you know what that is? What that means?
And no, it's not how Travis felt when he watched Road Games.
Yeah.
Like, does it bring anything to mind? Obviously, Scrooge comes to mind.
It's deep in my brain somewhere.
Now, we shouldn't take anything for granted. George, are you familiar with the character of Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever seen any movies that feature that character, or are you only familiar with the works of Mr. Dickens?
I'm familiar with the works of Mr. Dickens. I've actually been to the play, right? I got tickets to a play where they did A Christmas Carol, I guess it is.
Yeah.
And A Muppets Christmas Carol is a staple in my house. So I am familiar with Ebenezer Scrooge.
What is your favorite version of A Christmas Carol?
I mean, how many have I really seen?
That's what I'm just trying to judge based on your life experience.
Like I said, the Muppets one is a staple, man.
What about you, Travis? What's your favorite version?
I've seen. Hold on. I think that there was a version. I believe. I want to say that, like, do you remember that show? Like, it was on PBS with a little dog that recreates.
Yeah,
like,
Wishbone.
Wishbone. So Wishbone may have done it.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that seems legit. That Wishbone probably did a Christmas Carol at some point.
If Wishbone did it, I'm sure I saw it.
Did VeggieTales do it?
Possibly.
Possibly.
So like the Wishbone version, the Muppets version, the live play version is all I've seen, and I think Muppets is my favorite. So
it's so weird.
But I think Scrooged is a movie that I've either heard of or maybe I've seen, like, in passing, not really paid attention to it, but it's like back deep in my brain somewhere.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna watch it and I'm going to recognize scenes from it, but I'm gonna connect the dots while I'm watching it, so it should be good.
Yeah, I think my favorite is it's like a tie between the George C. Scott version and the Patrick Stewart version.
See, and I'm probably either Mr. Magoo or Mickey's Christmas Carol.
Yeah, Mickey's Christmas Carol's good.
These are all good. I mean, everybody that does it does a good job. So I hope that Scrooge is good.
And I did see a good stage play of it, too.
Yeah, Kansas City Repertory Theater here, it does one every year. And, like, they have staff all year long to prepare for it. Like, it's their big thing. So, yeah, every elementary school student in Kansas City ends up going to that at least once.
But this one is one of my favorites because of different reasons. Like, it's just not for nostalgic reasons, but it's the story of Scrooge, but done differently.
Save it for the pod, man. Save it for the pod.
Yeah, I'm excited. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us at facebook.com/remedialfilmpod. You can email us at remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and Instagram @remedialfilmpod. And if you're watching this on YouTube, keep in mind we're also on all those podcatchers like Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. And if you're listening on your Apple Podcast feed, keep in mind we're also on YouTube, and there's sometimes a couple of bonus features thrown in. So we'll see you back here next week for the beginning of the Christmas season, Scrooged